So here's what I learned from generating 38,769 streams on Spotify with my original new music and generating over 3,000 monthly listeners. Now, the spoiler alert here is basically I've kind of paid for them. There are some free options, and we'll work through that and why that may all make sense, but stick on in for the ride. G'day and welcome to Indie Over 50, a channel dedicated to those of us releasing new original music over the age of 50. My name's John Huggard. And look, if you've got any new original music that you've already released on Spotify or YouTube, feel free to share it with me on the platforms and I'll add it to our Indie Over 50 playlist. Thank you to all those who've already submitted some great tracks that you can check out as well, and I'll have the details below. So let's talk about those over 38,000 streams. First of all, it's true. It's a fact. Here it is up on the screen. That's all those stats there and the number of listeners. You get all that detailed information. You can't get details now for over 12 months. So I think it's just the last 12 months showing up on the screen, apart from your lifetime stats. So what I want to do is put all this in a bit of context and go a bit nerdy on the stats from Spotify. There's a lot of really interesting information, and I will have some links below from, Music Business Worldwide. So there's a reference there to some of the information I've got, and also demandsage.com. I'll have those links there, but let's talk about some of the very specific insights. The bottom line is having 4,000 listeners a month is amazing. Over 80% of artists on Spotify have less than 50 listeners per month. And if that's you, that's okay. That was me as well. And it will be again, depending on what I continue to invest or do or release with my music. The other amazing stat here is that only 20% of the songs released on Spotify have actually achieved a lifetime streaming of over 5,000 streams. I'm very fortunate. I've got 2 tracks there and probably 2 on the way soon. But it just puts you in context again as to how fragile that distribution curve is and how the vast majority of tracks released on Spotify never get that much attention. Now, fun fact, Flowers by Miley Cyrus. Now, that was the biggest streamed song of 2023 last year, 1.6 billion streams. Now, I've done the mathematics here, and that works out that in the course of this video, she's generated as many streams as I've done in an entire 3 years. 38,000 will be about 12 minutes. It puts a bit of perspective on the entire streaming economy. I mean, there's 8 million artists on Spotify, and there's only 16,000 of them that are generating, a reasonable income of $50,000 per annum from their streaming revenues. That's 16,000 artists. Now, when you think of all the great artists and classic artists over the years, local artists, one-hit wonders, it's not a lot of people are generating that many streams. Okay, so how did I generate those 38,769 streams? Oh, and counting. Well, of course, it starts with our family and friends. We push out a video, we demand, we share, we kind of say, hey, check this out. And we will get some listeners and plays and streams from that. On top of that, you might be active on social media. You might be putting out your material, showing you playing or singing the song, and that will certainly, and then linking through to Spotify so people can discover you. You might be regularly gigging and out there as a band or performing as an artist and, sharing, your hashtags or whatever the case might be so that people can discover you and start following you on Spotify or your other streaming platforms. But for me, it's been playlisting. And playlisting, what I've learnt there, is kind of the new radio. And basically, Spotify playlists, if you're on one of the Spotify playlists, you're basically on the equivalent of like American Bandstand or Countdown here in Australia, Top of the Pops in the UK. That's kind of the place where if you're on there, then you're almost kind of guaranteed to have a real hit. But apart from those big, huge playlists, there are a whole heap of other playlists, a bit like your local radio stations and your community radio stations. And these are playlists, and they're not put together by Spotify, they're put together by the community of Spotify. And some of them are really, really big. And that's what you kind of like want to get onto. That's like the equivalent of your big leading local radio station. And others are just put together by hobbyists, like Indie Over 50 is one of my playlists. You can have your material there, people will come by and listen to it, but maybe not many at this point of time. It's growing. So in my playlisting experience, I've been on some really interesting playlists. I've been on the Folklore Taylor's Versions playlist. Now, that sounds like a Taylor Swift playlist. It's not. It's been put together by some person who has put together this playlist, and it's basically Taylor's folklore album. And then she's interspersed, or they've interspersed other artist tracks, including mine, for some reason. And it kind of works. Maybe it's people looking for Taylor Swift folklore album, and they find this playlist and they accidentally choose it instead of the actual one from Taylor. I don't know how it works, but it has generated a lot of streams. I'm also on Kiss FM Romania Hot 2024 tracks. Like, I don't know if that's the actual radio station or they're just using the word, but again, it's generated over 2,000 streams for me in this past few months. I'm on Rock Road Trip, which has generated 300 streams of last year, and then 200 streams from, would you believe, INFJ, The Advocate. So those of you in the corporate world who've done Myers-Briggs testing index, there are playlists dedicated to your type. But how do you get access to any of these playlists? Well, typically you get access to them through platforms. So guess what? There's a whole range of world of platforms out there that you may never have heard of. So let me just outline some of them. There's a whole heap of names. There's Submit Hub, Groover, Moon, Ugrow Promo. There's a whole range of them out there. As soon as you start searching or Googling, your feed is going to blow up with offers from these organizations. Now, if you want to see how it works in real detail and some of the benefits and the performance from each of these different playlisting platforms, I really recommend a YouTube video that I'll link below. It's from a guy called TwoStorey Media, and he runs an agency helping artists grow their channels, their streams, and he analyzed 16 of all the different platforms. It's really helpful if you're learning about playlisting. So let me talk about the three groups out there. Firstly, there's some of them give you feedback on your songs. That can be really helpful, as well as getting you onto playlists. Some of them are free, or some of them have the option of free, so I'll share with you a couple of those. And finally, there's the rest of them, which are all about, in some form or version, paying, maybe not guaranteed to play, but guaranteed to get you on playlists, which give you the opportunity to be played. Now, the feedback sites can be really helpful, because all of us have got wonderful fans who are family and friends. Oh, wow, that's a really good song. That should be on the radio. You're really clever. You're really creative. I can't believe I haven't heard this on the radio. You get lots of really positive feedback, and it's really encouraging for us. But sometimes it's great to hear feedback from someone completely removed from us. Now, we might have tickled their interest by paying some money. Some of these platforms, you pay $1 or $2 or $3, and therefore you will have the opportunity to get some feedback from someone independently who says, I like your song and I'm going to put it on my playlist. I don't like your song. Here are the reasons why. Some of that feedback is really brutal. Let me read this one to you. I'll read down here. Hey, we like the sound here. Really cool beat. And also the synth sounds awesome. Unfortunately, the vocal killed the vibe for us. And we don't like the main melodies here, so we wish you much success. Now, the cool thing is they were very specific, and that's important. It's an opinion, and maybe it's right. Maybe that's the reason that I haven't blown up. So it's important to get that feedback and learn from it. Sometimes you get genre-specific feedback, which is kind of my main challenge. It's been really difficult to understand what genre I should be pitching my songs to. Here's this one. Fantastic vocals, however, we feel the overall vibe of the song is too indie rock for our playlists. Now, this is from someone who, is probably advertised that they like indie pop or indie rock, and then sometimes I'm told I'm too indie rock, and then sometimes I'm told I'm too indie pop, and I'm too mainstream, I'm too adult contemporary. I don't know. So I find the genre challenge, I find genre a real challenge. That's something that's part of our learning. Finally, you get some awesome feedback, some beautiful, nice words like this one here. The song is great and very well produced. The melody and texture are great. Some elements remind me of the 80s and 90s. I wonder why. The vocal performance is great. I love the beautiful timbre, energy, and the great backing vocals. The instrumental has a lot of production quality, and I love the soundscapes. Wow. Congratulations. Song added to the only indie music playlist for a month and shared on Instagram. And that's what you'll typically do. They'll put you on their playlist maybe for a month or 3 weeks or something like that. They might share them on their socials like Instagram. And if you're tagged or you follow them, then of course you can share it with your followers as well. So that's a pretty nice thing to be able to do. Now, when you get all this incredible feedback, it's actually pretty nice and useful. I've actually used some of that feedback as quotes from different playlists as part of my promotion when I'm pitching, say, for a radio station to consider playing my song. Here are some of the ones I've had: incredibly touching composition with a soft vocal performance from Valeria. I've had lovely, upbeat, inspirational song from Alto Key. So those quotes are really, really helpful. And some of the platforms now who provide that feedback give it to you in AI. So it actually makes it really easy to synthesize and grab those outtakes. Now, the people who are doing this is Groover and SubmitHub. That's the main benefit of those platforms, because when you submit to those platforms, they are giving you that valuable feedback as well as the opportunity to be playlisted. Now, some of the free options. The first one is, of course, Spotify. That is the holy grail. If you are on Spotify Top Hits, whatever that is, that's 58 million followers, you are going to be a hit. And that's kind of the grail. Now, when you load your song on to Spotify, you are given the opportunity to pitching to the editors. Now, you're probably not listened to by a real person, I'm sure, but the algorithm would check it out. And maybe over different prompters, you'll eventually be put in the hands of a real person who will say, this is hot, we're going to put it straight up there. So I think that can really happen. I had that view and believe that that could happen to an amazing song. So that's how it kind of works. The other side of Spotify, though, is the algorithm. So that's the other holy grail that we're trying to achieve here, is a certain amount of plays and streams and popularity such that the algorithm kicks in. And the big algorithm plays for Spotify is what's called radio, Spotify Radio. So if you're listening to something that you're liking, a latest album of an artist that you've enjoyed, or a playlist that you've enjoyed, at the end of it, it'll kind of flip out and start offering you some other songs. That's called Spotify Radio. And from that point of view, you're being given, from the artist's point of view, that's a free stream. It's just the algorithm is doing, I'm not paying for the playlist, not paying to play, but it's being prompted to say, oh, we think this listener might like your song. So that's a pretty cool place to end up. There is a couple of other algorithm playlists, such as Discover Weekly and Release Radar. There's a few others as well in Spotify. They're all driven by a range of things, including what's called the popularity score. You can actually find it. It's down in the detail. Google it. And that popularity score is a recognition of, well, how many times have people listened to your song and then just skipped? How many times have they saved it, or they loved it, or they put it on their own playlist, or repeated it? So they're the type of drivers that will lift your popularity score. And I've been told that if your popularity score gets to around 20, then the algorithm will start to kick in and accelerate you into different opportunities. For the really great songs, they need to be a popularity score of over 50. Now, on the freebie side, to get yourself out there for free, as of today, if you've got a Spotify release, you can use these playlists today to give you the option of being putting onto playlists. The big one is called Daily Playlist. Now, it's a bit of a bazaar. There's a whole heap of playlists in there. It does work. And I've seen playlists in there that are available on the paid platform. So clearly these playlisters just want more music to listen to, and maybe identify some artists that would go really, really well on their playlist. So it's pretty genuine. On the other hand, it's probably a bit of an email trawl site. So just be careful with what email address you offer up to them, because maybe you'll be spammed in the future. I don't know. I can't guarantee that, but it just feels like one of those sites. I have used it. I have been playlisted on some of those, but it's a pretty low impact site. But if you've got nothing to spam, you just want to try playlisting, go for it. The other two are SubmitHub and SubmitLink. These are paid playlisting sites, but they do have a free option. And what they do is allow you to apply to maybe two playlisters um, every 24 hours. So there'll be some time limit. And there's a cool down. And then once that time is up, then you can try again. So it's a slow way of getting there, but it does work. And of course, not all the playlisters will make themselves available for that free option. So it's a bit of a segment within the segment. Okay, now the rest, of course, they're typically performance-based. Though they, as I said before, they can't guarantee you pay per play, but they can guarantee, hey, we'll get you onto 200,000 followers playlists or something like that, which will give you the option. Some of the big names here that I've worked with are Moon and You Grow Promo, and as a result, I have seen substantive increases in streaming, but I've also seen, I've had to pay more for that. But you do get more for what you pay for. The other really interesting thing I've seen with that is literally having gone from one campaign from Moon to You Grow Promo. Guess what? The song was put on the exact same playlist. They've done that deal with the Romanian Kiss FM and the Sweden NJ or whatever it is, and somehow I'm on the same playlist again. So it works, but it's kind of interesting how they've targeted the same people who can generate the same amount of plays on their playlist to do it. I'm sure if I tried another one, I'd get a different outcome. So I have tried playlisting. It does work. It has generated most of my streams. A lot of the 38,000 streams are the freebies as well from Spotify and from my family and friends and from being put on people's personal playlists. That has made a difference as well. But the big bulk have come from playlisting. So is it worth it, you might ask? Well, I've spent over $2,500 in the last 3 years to generate $250 of revenue. Now, these are Australian dollars. In America, that'd be about like $1,800 US and $180 of income. So it does not make sense. I'm losing money rate of 10 to 1. Now, either that's investing in vanity stats just so I can feel good about streams. Maybe I'm investing in trying to trigger the algorithm. Maybe I'm investing because it's just what I do. It's my creative outlet, it's my hobby, and I'm prepared to spend that amount of money and learn along the way. And that's why I thought I'd come here, share those results, share some of my learnings, and something for you to think about as you're going ahead in your creative journey as well. One thing I'm considering doing in the future, rather than playlisting, is thinking about meta advertising. That's what people are talking about now, is probably a better way of going. But hey, I'll learn, I'll share on Indie Over 50. So until then, I'll say, I'll catch you then.